Well, my dad, when I was, I don't know, about 4 or 5 years old, maybe a little younger, he started flying. And I remember earliest experience going up with him. I think he just got his license. He bought a single engine airplane, and he would take me and my sister on trips. My sister's much older. She was in college, starting college at the time. So we'd take trips to North Carolina. We'd just go everywhere. And when I was about 14, well, maybe a little younger than that, he took me out just out of the blue. He took me to an airport. He got an instructor and said, hey, I want you to take my son up flying. I want you to give him a flying lesson. So from then on, I was absolutely hooked. So I started, about 14 years old, soloed at 16, then stopped because I got more into music and went to college. And then after college, that's when I finished all my licenses up. I got my instrument rating later. So now, I fly as much as I can when I'm in New York. So, yeah. There was actually a very memorable experience recently. So Cecile Salvant and I, we had a gig in Canada. And we made it to the airport quite early, actually, maybe about an hour and a half before boarding. So we decided we'd go get something to eat. It was early in the morning, so we decided we'd have breakfast. And Marcus Samuelson, who has the Red Rooster, he has a place in JFK called Uptown, much like the Red Rooster, same kind of fare. And I had the best breakfast sandwich imaginable, but I was looking at the ticket, and it said like 9:30 on it, and I thought that was the boarding time. In fact, that was the time the plane departed. So we had just missed the cutoff for boarding. So we were kind of panicking, like, what are we going to do? We had a gig in Quebec later on that evening, and like, how are we going to make this gig? I mean, there's not going to be a direct flight to Quebec, so how are we going to make this gig? And we looked at trains, we looked at driving there. It was a 10-hour drive. I said, we're not going to be able to make it. So I said, look, we can fly there. I can make it. So actually, my girlfriend who lived on Long Island, she picked me up. I called her. I said, look, we're in a really bad situation. I need you to drive me out to an airport in New Jersey so we can get a plane and fly to Quebec. So we ended up leaving around maybe 3:30, and got into Quebec City about an hour before the gig. We just made it. So that really came in handy. It saved the day. We got lucky that time. So Cecile's been up with me. Some other musicians have been up with me. I think that most of them enjoy it. They'll attest to me being a safe pilot. So. And you also get to, I think it's important for people who are afraid to fly, if you can get them into an airplane, they see how safe it is. I mean, a lot of the systems nowadays, even the small planes, are automated, and they have all kinds of redundant systems to make sure if something fails, then you have a backup. And I still tell people air travel is the safest way to go. I'd be more afraid of driving a New York City taxi than flying in an airline. So, I mean, I think I find several correlations with jazz or playing music, well, specifically playing jazz and flying. If you're flying an airplane, you're not just looking at one thing. There's not like one instrument that's telling you everything the plane is doing. You have your attitude indicator tells you what the attitude of the plane is in relation to the horizon. You have your airspeed, it tells you your speed. You have your altimeter. You have all these things that you have to look at one time to determine what the plane is doing. It's much as the same way a jazz band works, where you have to listen to the bass player, you have to listen to the drummer, and everyone in the band, and you have to figure out how to react to these individuals to make the music coalesce. And so when I'm flying all the time, I'm thinking about. Usually, I have some jazz playing when I'm flying. So to me, they're one and the same. I see them.
Cool.
It's been great. Cecile and I have been working together for 2 years now, I have to say, it's one of the highlights of my life, of working with an artist who's so young at that level, and so much intuition when it comes to the language of jazz, and she's very free, experimental. She's willing to take risks, chooses great material. You know, everything she brings is just a treasure, whether it's a kind of an obscure piece of American song book material, or if it's one of her own original compositions. I marvel at her, really. Yeah, and I think she just has this combination of like youthful exuberance and womanly maturation. And her first album, Woman Child, it really exhibits those elements, as the name implies. So, yeah.
Hi, I'm Louis Nash, and for more interviews, go to jazztimes.com.